in week 5, he was at 145, lost by about a minute.
All right, really fast, let's go ahead and we updated our privacy policy.
That seems fitting.
All right, so what do we think is going to be at Uncle?
I always bet on Kane.
Which one?
The red Kane. The good Kane.
Oh, the good Kane. All right, well, let's go ahead and see what we end up having. We're going to go ahead and find out from the Uncle. I'm going to go ahead and predict the bow for this run.
The bow is definitely one of the things you want to see. Kane is just fun. Hey, speaking of which...
I should just give up trying to predict these things. We do get bomb drops off the first guard we kill, and there's the power glove as well. So we get our bombs, so now these runners are going to concentrate on just getting through the remainder of escape, probably speeding through. SevenS1ns comes in with the same record of 3-2. Lost to Don VanEur last week, but only by a minute, with a good time of 143.25. Ended up getting their tournament best week 4 against Jax's 130.22. Had only one of the 5 runs in this tournament going over 2 hours. That was in week 2, and a 6-minute loss to El Tigre, finishing with a 204.11. So on paper, there seems to be SevenS1ns race to lose. It seems like SevenS1ns has the ability to route a little bit better than Slothmonster, but we'll see how this goes. It can come down to some luck, and as we know in past races.
Yep, and you look at Seven's record and some of those 2 real big wins and the 1 real big loss by Sloth, and a lot of that is rando being rando. Things that, maybe aren't necessarily more than bad luck. So it's hard to tell how those weigh in.
Absolutely, but just taking a look at how SevenS1ns is making his way through the escape, it just seems like he's moving along faster. He may be doing some of the techniques like the pumping, but it also seems like the way he's killing is more efficient at this point. As we see Slothmonster getting chased around by the blue guard, or rather the green guard, and SevenS1ns ended up killing that blue guard almost quite efficiently.
Yeah, one of the things I like about the Red Cane start and why I always hope for it is that it's not one that people practice as much because it's really easy to get through escape with it. But the people who do practice it have little things they do that make it a lot more efficient.
Yeah, as you can see, SevenS1ns is going to end up, he's going to use the first Cane Blast here. Oh, he's just going to do double pot strats. I thought he was going to go ahead and do the Cane against the other guard here, but probably ended up heading to alter that strategy because of the fact that he had the green guard in pursuit of him. We find the fire rod, so Zelda had a campfire going on in the jail cell today.
Now they have an alternate weapon that's much more effective at killing things, but also much more expensive on the magic front, so...
Yeah, but we're probably going to see that be used in the rope room because of how the splatter kills the enemies as well.
True, it is definitely a lot more efficient there. Although your ideal, when you already have a bomb, is to just be able to walk through the ropes without having to touch any of them.
Yeah, but at least it would give you the chance to maybe get some more bombs heading for Kakariko Village. Maybe save yourself a tree pull or having to go to the shop to spend your 50 rupees. These rupees are not a big problem at this point because we got 141 and 142 respectively.
Yeah, it has not been a poor start to the scene. With the 50 rupees in Kakariko, that's enough for Bottle Vendor, their bombs, and having some left over, so...
Well, we'll see how both of these runners do choose to play it. I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of these two does try to kill off the ropes for the drops.
Yep, especially with almost the full magic bar that Samaria leaves you with. It's not too much of a risk. It's not like with the Cane O'Brien or the bombs where trying to push for any extra kills is really, really risky.
And it looks like, no, SevenS1ns is going to save himself the menu time and ends up staying with the Cane of Samaria and gets rewarded with an 8 bomb drop. So he's all set for Kakariko Village.
some bomb capacity in case he gets another 8 bomb drop. You can hold it.
And Slothmonster opting not to kill the ropes, which is very unfortunate given the fact that what we know about the ropes being part of the bomb droppers.
Yep, it's going to make his eventual trip into Kakariko a little bit slower, having to go down and get more bombs before he can do much if he's not lucky with tree poles or the bush crab.
So we'll see if that does come into play with Kakariko Village. We're talking at this point, SevenS1ns already does have a little bit of a lead on Slothmonster coming out of the escape, and that's just going to magnify if Slothmonster doesn't get lucky with some bombs coming up anywhere soon.
So shoutouts to this run, giving them a ton of bombs available, giving them the glove in case they miss the bombs, and then having back of escape be nothing.
Well, of course, that's the way it is. If you have easy access to the back of escape, there won't, why give them anything good?
Sometimes I swear this randomizer knows what it's doing. Oh, gets a nice bomb drop from the rat.
There we go. So the rats and the ropes were part of that same drop tree. So anything that we were concerned about with Slothmonster not having a disadvantage heading into Kakariko Village has now been rubbed off by the fact that he decided to kill the rats before going to that final area. We find 10 arrows in the final chest of the escape sequence. So SevenS1ns looks like he'll be going to go check the lumberjack tree as Slothmonster gets ready to leave the sanctuary a little bit behind. How will these two route the next few moments? Some like to skip the lumberjack tree check for a little bit. Looks like both of them are going to go ahead and check it.
Yep, I know a lot of people, it used to be pretty much 100% going up here. Some people still do it, some people hold off on it. It's kind of nice when you see both runners make the same play on that, because no one's gaining or losing anything on the other right away.
Nice crab drops there. The generous crab giving out 20 rupees per thing here. So both of these runners will be loaded with money heading into Kakariko Village. Looks like Slothmonster decided that's it. 3 drops is enough for me.
Now we head over here to the Lost Woods, got the item in the mushroom spot and the drop down to look forward to. Seven is choosing to farm up this second push crab for more 20s and now has 400 rupees.
Yeah, he's after he gets done with Kakariko Village. As we find the flippers, I was about to bring up Zora, and the flippers gives me the best time to actually do so. The fact that Zora was already in Logic, but now definitely a trip up to Zora could be in the cards early on. He's going to have... Oh, never mind. There's 300 rupees. He's both of these runners will have enough money for Zora leaving Kakariko Village.
Yep, Sloth might be a little bit tight if they get no money whatsoever in Kakariko, but the odds of that are extremely low.
And you're pretty much guaranteed to pick up, what, about 50 rupees in Kakariko Village via the pots, both in the hideout and in the hut as well as the well.
Very true.
First map check, we do find that it's all crystals in the lay world. One of the 5-6 crystals turns out to be Desert Palace.
The ideal thing to see on that first map check.
Alright, so the first stop here will be to Blind's Hut. We're going to go ahead and find out what's in the 5 chest here. So 702 rupees right now would mean 602 leaving Kakariko Village. There's the Moon Pearl. Well, perfect for routing. We found our first bottle, and never mind anything having to worry about money at this point. Both runners will be set for rupees for the remainder of this game.
I think it comes out to what, like 750 you need for everything?
Never mind.
And now 1,300 they already have.
So, SevenS1ns option to go ahead and pull out money from the bush crab. Obviously, if this was a money-starved seed early on, that would have been a great play, but it turns out to be a moot point at this point.
Yep, and it kind of allowed Sloth to make up that little bit of a fall behind from escape there.
We find the Quake Medallion, as well as another bomb upgrade at this point. So... this has been money heavy in the beginning of this run, but there's also been a lot of good items too they could help with transport. The flipper's helping out, the glove, and now the flute being accessible to both of our runners.
Getting the flute in Kakariko is the best thing because it makes the entire run worth of routing easier.
Also, getting the bottle too. I mean, you don't have to double back to get sick, kid. You don't have to double back to activate the flute. All we need now is to find the hammer and the powder. We can just completely full cycle this thing. Why not get the boots as well while we're at it?
I don't know if we have enough items left here to get all of that.
Race game, the chicken coop, the tavern, sick kid. We got enough.
Yeah, I didn't do the math before I said that. You're right. Would have enough room.
50 rupees, why not? In that case, I'm just going to bet the tavern right now has 20 rupees.
Why not the, third 300? Sick kid realizes that you've got all the money in the world, says, I still don't have anything better to offer you than money, so here.
SevenS1ns opted to go buy some bombs. This has been a very money-loaded seed so far, so might as well spend the 50 rupees on some bombs. No silver arrows in the tavern. Okay, I was wrong.
I mean, you could probably sell the silver in those arrows for a decent amount of money.
Have you checked the silver prices lately?
I can't say I have, actually.
Neither can I. We find a heart container inside the library, so they will not be coming back for that unless this turns out to be the ultimate key heart starve seed.
Yeah, I can't imagine that coming back. Slothmonster is just YOLOing the race game. Seven is going to go check it.
Yeah, okay, let's find out if it's something important. It's just a piece of heart, so Slothmonster will get a little bit of... Well, I don't think he'll go and actually pick that up. And we go immediately mirror off to the dam. And Slothmonster does the save and quit. And we find bombs. Of course, SevenS1ns pays money for some bombs. So let's go ahead and find some bombs while we're at it.
Well, at least they got, 20 bombs worth of capacity upgrades, so they got plenty of room to fit more in there.
This is something that having an early fluke tends to do to your mind. You sometimes forget that you already do have that easier access. So Slothmonster taking the long walk, and SevenS1ns passes up another heart piece.
I like the style.
You're going to be forced to get some hearts along the way.
Yeah, it's very rare for a seed to become to a point where those single pieces of heart become super relevant. So if you're confident in the early game, it's usually okay to skip what you find early. Took out 3 of those Moldorms with Fire Rod, and the last one got a bomb.
There's our magic powder. Get ourselves a whole bunch of money, some bombs as well. Of course, we're going to give you some more money when you don't need it at this point.
Also get that blue mail, which, while they're still sitting at 3 hearts, is going to be kind of nice. Crabs won't nearly one-shot them.
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and check the Ice Rod Cave at this point, and it looks like Slothmonster is opting to do the Cane of Samaria stretch, which is kind of tough only because of the fact that the Cane of Samaria, it does take a while to kill them because you need to hit them with 2 beams or hit them with 2 blocks.
I'm surprised Sloth didn't go over and grab those 8 bombs that dropped. Sitting at 6, you're going to need a lot more than that throughout the rest of the run, so more is always helpful.
Well, that's right. He's got 3 now.
So I have to assume 7 is going to make the play up to Zora at this point.
1,300 rupees, the flippers in hand. I don't see why you wouldn't.
First going to check the Hobo, probably going to check Lake Hylia Island.
Yeah, we'll see him check the Hobo first, and then he'll go check the island maybe a little bit later on. So what we'll see likely is some check the hobo, head to the shallow part of the water, and then wind up fluting back over to 8 and doing this all over again.
I will say for the hobo check, I think it's a little bit quicker to flute to 4, walk east from
Titan's Mid. There's our Dark World access.
Yep, that is the Dark World access. Like I was saying, I think fluting to 4, going down by the Hylia bomb shop, and then over to hobo, I think is a little bit quicker than going from 8.
Well, yeah, you can go off the dock and go ahead and see the. You can go ahead and see what's on the island that way too. So that would probably save you a little bit of time as you find out that it's just 20 rupees on the island. And we're going to the portal, head on over to Zora, complete the play.
Yep, it's easy to say, okay, I got these SevenS1ns, let's move on, I got more stuff I can do. Sticking with the plan is usually the better idea. Hey, we got our first new heart container of the run, 16 minutes in.
Yay!
Then we get to see if these flippers pay off for anything else right away. Nope. No,
Well,
they
it
do
does
not.
pay off for 5 rupees.
If you want to call that a payoff.
What would you call a good payoff? Bow? I can't take that bow and make money off it. Oh wait, that's right, we have the shooting game.
Although you don't actually need the bow for that, so I guess the bow wouldn't matter there.
Technicalities. Work with me here. Wouldn't that be funny if you needed the bow to play that game, just like you would need the shovel to actually play the digging game?
Oh, I could only imagine what awful things the game could do with that kind of setup.
That'd make it more of a fetch quest. As we find a heart container out on the desert island, I'm surprised SevenS1ns has opted. Oh, I see what we're doing now. We're gonna go ahead and check the Dark World at the portal. I figured SevenS1ns was going to make the Agena play, but opted not to do so. We're going to go ahead and see what we need for Meyer. We don't know if Meyer's required at this point. We know Bombos is the medallion required for it.
But I do like jumping on the Meyer Shed when you have that Flute Titans mitts early. Sometimes it's going to pay off and it's very quick.
Yeah, not today, but yeah, I totally understand that. It is the case where if there's something nice in the shed, you've got it early access, the game's giving it to you. But it's not to be in the cards today. It looks like the major next step for both of these runners is let's head over to 3 and we'll go ahead, head to the Dark World.
Yep, and then you got the question of where do you head right away? Do you dip into the Skull Woods? Do you head down toward Village of Outcasts?
I do a map check. If Skullwoods is a pendant, I'm popping in there right now. If it isn't, I'm waiting till later. Speaking of pendants, Thieves Town, Ice, and Misery Mire. Mire being your green. Turtle Rock being that 6. Of course, Turtle Rock's got that importance to it. And so, SevenS1ns doesn't do the mental thinking that I was going to do. It's opted to head for Skullwoods.
Yep, well, Slothmonster is doing the opposite, heading right down to Village of Outcasts and getting a heart container. Yay!
5 hearts, 18 minutes in.
I know a lot of people have made the Skull Woods play super early, pretty much since about V26, when it was like a 33% chance for progression. Some people still do it now, even though it's lower odds than that these days.
Bug catching net turns out to be in the Sea House, and just to point out, Skullwoods is not a beatable dungeon at this point. We are still missing a sharp item in order to make it within logic.
Well, in order to make it at all, you're not going to be able to just tear those curtains down.
I wish we could burn those curtains.
I feel like there are a lot of items that could probably get rid of those curtains. I feel like the sword requirement is kind of facetious.
I know bombs couldn't get rid of those curtains. They're made of the finest of material in Hyrule.
Slothmonster jumping into Thieves Town. It is a pendant, but they also don't have the hammer, so if they check more than the front four, they could be leaving an item behind. SevenS1ns jukes that Gibdo a little bit to go grab this full magic refill.
Oh,
that
these
doesn't
spawns!
spot.
Oh, the troll. Oh.
I hate that that magic refill is on the same tile as the pot prison room that has so many enemies and sprites in there. Makes it way too easy for that thing to despawn.
That's salt-inducing at this point.
Looks like SevenS1ns couldn't quite decide where he wanted to go. Gonna do this bomb jump to the big chest now.
He wants to be super careful at this point. Just more trying to keep things away from him. There's our sword! Oh, so now Skullwoods is beatable!
And going there early pays off just like it always used to. Now the question is though, do you really want to do 4-heart fighter sword Mothula?
SevenS1ns has said no, just like I would. Well, we get our sword.
Then go ahead and check Bumper Cave while he's over here, while Slothmonster has decided to go deeper than the front four in Thieves Town. So he's going to be hoping there's no item in that big chest.
So we have the Magic Cave yielding you the Cane of Burna today.
Which, outside of, and ironically talked about the other day, really obscure situation means Cane of Burna is completely useless as seed.
Absolutely. So SevenS1ns heading to the village probably will make the same Thieves Town play. So Slothmonster at this point does not have a key in his arsenal, which means that the cell where Blind is will either have the key or it will have either the dungeon item or another item of the game. But if it doesn't have the key, then we know that this is a safe play in the sense that it turns out that the key will be locked in the big chest.
Yep, it also does stand to give you a little bit of extra information. If Blind has any kind of progressive item and the small key is in the big chest, you know that that item was hammer locked.
The Slothmother has opted to go ahead and save and quit, which is an interesting decision at this point. I wonder what's on their mind at this point.
I mean, it saves you that trip downstairs. If there's an item in the big chest, you have a little bit more reason to come back later than if you get everything except for that big chest. So it might just be a play on that. I don't think we got all 4 items. I think we had 1 left.
Well, and maybe also Slothmonster taking a look at his magic at this point and figured, I don't have enough to go on to Blind at this point. Best for me not to go forward. In fact, that's I think what the play might have been there is because take a look at his magic at this point. That would not have been enough to get the Cane of Samaria to kill Blind.
Yeah, and Thieves Town does not have much in the way of magic refills. Get a heart container, a little bit more money, and a heart piece in the back of Sarasrala's house. And SevenS1ns does have the advantage here. If he decides to go to Blind, he's got that sword already, so he doesn't need to worry about his magic for completing the dungeon.
So Slothmonster heading now into Eastern Palace, a dungeon that we can't beat at this point, but we can go ahead and try to see if we can't loot the 3 items inside.
Yep, it's a Spear 1 location, so odds are usually pretty high that it's going to have something. Doesn't mean it always does, but usually not great to put it off for too long.
Yep, unfortunately, the first item inside of Eastern Palace turns out to be bombs.
Well, you know, they're going to have trouble getting more bombs with how poor they are on this run, so they might have really needed those.
Yeah, I mean, too bad they won't be able to go and buy the 30 bombs for 100 rupees, the way the seed's been playing them money-wise.
And second chest in Eastern gives a compass, and SevenS1ns is going to be making the rest of this play into Thieves Town, so we'll get a little bit more information on what Sloth may have missed here soon.
Fine effort there for SevenS1ns to try to go ahead and sword down, but the big disadvantage of the fire sword is it's very, very weak. Oh, there's a magic drop right there, of course. And we get bombos. Needed for Meyer. Uh-oh.
And Meyer, you need either a hookshot or boots to full clear it.
Yeah, but that's more of the danger that Slothmonster is going to have to go back into Thieves Town that he noped out of.
True. An interesting little tidbit of logic rating with that Bombos medallion there. We know that Hammer isn't going to be locked behind Bombos. So it cannot be in Meyer, and if T-Rock requires Bombos, well, T-Rock also requires Hammer, so that one we knew already.
Right, because you can grab a key, go downstairs, and waste it. Although, no, yeah, you can go ahead and grab a key from somewhere else and waste it. Yeah, that's right. And SevenS1ns in death row here, but gets blind down. Oh, that was a dangerous fight, but we get it taken care of. Single rupee turns out to be the reward for the blue pendant. But we do know Slothmonster needs to get that Bombos out of Thieves Town now. Although it looks like Slothmonster may be... Are we making the play back in? No, we're not. I would have been surprised if Slothmonster came back in, all things considering at this point.
Yeah, especially since he didn't stop anywhere and didn't stop and get a magic refill from the potion shop.
Yeah. So just to answer the question, because people are inquiring, why can't Meyer have the hammer at this point? Because what you could do to end up blocking yourself out in Thieves Town is you could grab that key that you get in the room that has the switch and the spikes, take that downstairs, take that into the big key, use that in the big chest room. So how are you going to get that key out of there? Well, guess what?
So, chat bringing up a good point. That was actually the one chest that was not hammer locked.
Oh, yes, that's right. So, my explanation here, never mind it. Digging game turned out to be 20 rupees. So, yeah, you could still get to that chest without the key. Let's go ahead and do a fetch quest, or these trading sequence here with the breadsmiths. Let's go ahead and take him on a tour. Never mind what I'm saying or not saying. It doesn't make sense.
Sometimes brain is hard at this time of day. I take fault for that one.
You can remove this time of day, and it'd still be the right statement.
Fair point. Fair point. So Stumpy didn't really give anything of value, so heading over to Hype Cave now. What do you think? Maybe like a 6 out of 10 this time?
Oh, given how the items have been so far, I almost want to give this a 2 out of 10.
I don't know, I feel like they're getting kind of tight on new places they can go, so it's got to have something, right?
I'm going to almost predict that this is going to be that one kind of seed where it turns out that you got to go up to Death Mountain without anything in your arsenal except for the flute that gets you up there and get your progression.
That could very well be. Oh, magic mirror.
There's the mirror to get you up to Hera.
Yeah, that's definitely good a reason as any to go up Death Mountain.
Okay, so I'll give that a 4.
I think that's a pretty fair rating. Now, Sloth is walking back this way. So you're going to walk the breadsmith all the way back and grab the purple chest.
I think what he's going to do at this point is at least get to the south of Haunted Grove cave here.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Where are you taking the breadsmith here, SevenS1ns? Oh, you're going to go to the portal up here. Piece of art turns out to be south of Haunted Grove.
Yep, so these two taking completely different routes, they're both going to lead them to the same idea of bringing the blacksmith back and doing purple chests in a row.
Well, you also know this opens up by logic. Batcave.
True, which is a benefit for Sloth, because he could mirror over with that purple chest to check Magic Bat, whereas the 7 would have to miss out on the cave south of the Grove to do so.
By the way, I just want to point out also, don't forget, Meyer is a pendant, so that Bombos that SevenS1ns found could be a red herring.
Yeah, it's always a word.
Unless it turns out that we do need to go inside, and simultaneous breadsmith sealed 5 rupees.
Which means that you actually lose 5 rupees.
So Slothmonster trying to figure out what he's going to do. Oh, we're going to get simultaneous bat checks now. Maybe. Nope. Maybe. Oh, we're going to leave the chest there.
Sloth, no.
You're going to lose your portal, though.
Yep, lose the portal and the chest.
Yeah, and I think he'll realize that real soon, unless this turns out to be the hammer, which it doesn't.
Magic Bag curses you with a taunt of slightly more life. Can I just give a shout out to how confusing the wording for the Magic Bat was as a kid?
I'm gonna curse you. It's gonna. You're gonna really feel it now, punk. Ah. Now it's going to take you twice as long to empty your magic. Our container at the purple chest.
So, SevenS1ns heading to go check Checkerboard Cave. I wonder if he'll dip into the desert while he's here as well.
That's what he's leading me to believe at this point.
Could also make the Meyer Gambit if, you know, he wants to find a way to get across that hole.
Yeah. Unless he finds a way in there, he has no way inside at this point. Maybe he might find a boost. Maybe he might find the hook shot. Either one of those two would put Misery Meyer on the table, at least to be explored inside. All right, is desert beatable at this point? No, it's not. There's the small key.
Which also means as many item locations as possible are locked behind the boots.
And there's the map. We are done. So Slothmonster's going to go ahead and check the graveyard ledge at this point. And I like this check right here because we've seen this check yield something in the past. So we're going to go check Checkerboard Cave, and then that's it for SevenS1ns. This is his second trip here to the Meyer Shed. And with each passing item, it just further the belief that there's something on Death Mountain that we need to go up there without the hammer or hookshot. There's the boots!
Oh, dear Lord. So Desert is now completable. As we were mentioning, we can now get into Misery Meyer if he wants to make that gamble. In fact, potentially all 3 pendant dungeons are now clearable.
Well, not yet.
Oh yeah, hammer. We don't have hammer yet.
Don't worry, we're going to find the hammer real soon. It can't hide for too much longer. That's a vanilla piece of heart right there.
Hammer is one of those items that you usually find so early that when you don't have it 34 minutes in, 35 minutes in, you just kind of feel like you do.
So this opens up the possibilities here for SevenS1ns. Obviously, the desert being a boot block seed, not a boot block dungeon. Also, we have the 2 standard locations that were boot block as well. And obviously, as we just mentioned before, Misery Mire very well could be boot block as well. And we find a Red Rupee being the first of the 2 items here in Desert. And SevenS1ns is not going to go check the big chest at this point. He will go ahead and head straight to the Lamolas and tell him whether or not he's got to go check that big chest later on. As Slothmonster does opt to go see what's on the desert ledge. And
He made a liar, are you, Rick?
yeah, he is.
He went right back in that door and straight up this way.
And he finds the compass. He should have just went right straight with his plan. He second-guessed himself. Slothmonster looks like we're about ready to get the boots as well, so that boot advantage for SevenS1ns is about to extinguish, as Slothmonster does see the bombos. So the question obviously later on becomes, is it going to be important to get into Misery Mire?
That's why part of me kind of hopes that Seven makes the play to jump in there right away, just so we get a little bit of an idea as soon as possible.
So Slothmonster about to pick up the boot. SevenS1ns about to go face off against the Lamolas. We're about to get our first crystal at 36 minutes in.
Yep, ideally he'll have perfect amount of shots to take out all 3 Lamolas with the fire rod. If anything starts to go wrong, then he gets to deal with the fighter sword fight, which is not the most fun way to kill them.
Well, that's the thing. Slothmonster decides that he's going to go to the Lamolas. He's going to have to be careful with this magic, because without the sword at this point, kind of extremely limited to what he can do. Solid fight so far here for SevenS1ns. Looks like it's going to be 2 cycle, depending on which way he goes. He gets hit with the rocks first of all. Now he comes up and 2 fire rod shots. That's a beautiful patient fight there for SevenS1ns. 20 rupees turns out to be the drop, so nothing important in Desert, but crystal number 1 picked up 37-34 here for SevenS1ns.
Desert Palace with only 2 red rupees is kind of mean, but it's still a crystal. It still matters.
So SevenS1ns is going to go check Agina. Has decided at this point that why go into Misery Mire when it's a pendant dungeon at this point. It's not beatable by logic because we don't have the lamp just yet.
Yep, and the question continues to be, when will either of them make the play up to Death Mountain?
Well, we got a heart container now. Death Mountain could be where the progression is, but there's also another place that we're leaving out that is accessible to our runners at this point.
And what would that be?
Pyramid, Palace of Darkness, Catfish.
True.
Because of the flippers, they can go from left to right.
And while it's super annoying to get over there because it's a annoyingly long walk, having the boots makes it a little bit more tolerable. The only downside of that play is obviously we are not able to clear Pod right now without the bow, whereas going up Death Mountain you do get to Hera, which we can full clear.
Yeah, I think both of these runners, and I totally get this play. I would probably do the same thing if I was in their shoes at this point. They're waiting until they have access to the right-hand side Death Mountain before they make that play up. And how long do you put it off? Well, there's the hook shot.
Conveniently timed the answer to that question.
So now we can access the right-hand side of Death Mountain, which will probably get them up there a little bit sooner. So the boots, well, first the mirror out of the hype cave, and then secondly, the hook shot here is what unlocks the seed at this point.
Yep, and hookshot is much better option of a way to get over there than hammer, just because you can also clear out hookshot cave with it.
And so SevenS1ns pulls out the mirror. It looked like he was thinking about going to the portal, but has opted not to do so because SevenS1ns, I think, realizes he's got a whole lot more options open to him at this point as we find a bottle with blue goo in it, which is perfectly fine for fighting at this point given the health scenario at 40 minutes in.
Yep, and Death Mountain isn't a fun place to be on low health because those falling cabbages do 1 heart no matter how much armor you have.
As we see SevenS1ns go ahead and do the lamp-blocked old man at this point, which isn't a bad play. He does have the sword, and that's understandable why Slothmonster has opted not to do so. But did Slothmonster, he did not go. Oh yeah, he did not go into Bonk Rocks by the looks of things. So therefore, Slothmonster's on a trek to have to go back, double up this mountain.
Yep, unless the hammer is in here, which it's not. But it could be in Hera, and that could at least get everything but hookshot cave done for him.
Bomb upgrade from the old man. And now it's time to head on in and see what the Tower of Hera has in store. SevenS1ns will make that play there soon. First, likely, I believe what we'll see from SevenS1ns is a Hera play as well, because without the hammer, it'd be annoying to have to go back this direction.
Yeah, you want to get it done while you're sure you're not going to have to double all the way back around the mountain.
Oh. Slothmonster can't beat Hera right now.
Oh, you're right.
This is not a beatable dungeon for Slothmonster because of the fact that he does not have the hammer or a sword, which are the 2 items that can be Lambo. Oh, there's the hammer.
Never mind, he can beat it. So, while not logical, what I was saying earlier, all 3 of the pendant dungeons are now actually completable, so that's worth noting, I guess. Logically speaking, there's still a lamp lock from it, but that is true.
So this actually works out good for Slothmonster, who came up here without the hook shot. I want to point that out again. He came up here without the hook shot.
Now see, there is one lingering downside for him, and that's if Hookshot Cave has something important, he's going to clear everything else but Hookshot Cave. That could be bad.
That could be bad if those 3 chests end up having something, which we'll find out from SevenS1ns, but this at least gets him access to Paradox Cave. It also gets him access to the 1 chest that is in Hookshot that can be accessible via the boots. And here's another thing that we could point out at this point. Guess what could be accessible right now for SevenS1ns?
What do you have in mind?
A very nasty dungeon which could have the ice rod in it that's required to beat that said dungeon.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that. I didn't want to say it. Because forcing T-Rock with Fighter Sword is just mean.
V29 doesn't care whether or not it's mean or nice.
It does not care at all, but we can try to care a little bit.
We're not heartless souls. We just want to have our runners have a good time.
Slothmonster opting to do the vanilla route over to the big chest here, getting rewarded with $20.
Yeah, and SevenS1ns going to be able to do this a lot faster, given the fact that he's got the boots, so he'll be able to bonk into this chest. And so, therefore, both of these runners will be heading to Trolldorm at about the same time.
And with that hammer drop, it is going to be hammer strats for both of them. No one's going to try to use the fire sword over the hammer.
3 hammers versus 6 fighter swords. Of course you're going to go hammer strats against this Moldworm. Beautiful fight there for Slothmonster. I like SevenS1ns just using the sword to get himself away, but both of these runners with a fantastic Moldworm fight.
Yep, Moldorm didn't even have a chance to troll either of them. So now they're both going to head over to East Death Mountain. Again, Slothmonster is going to be missing out on 3 chests in Hookshot Cave. SevenS1ns can get all of it. But I'm going to bet there's something of value over here.
And we're going to find out also whether or not we need to go peek our head into Turtle Rock, or whether or not Slothmonster definitely needs to go back into Thieves Town, because if that turns out that this medallion required to get into Turtle Rock is the Bombos like it is for Meyer, that's bad news for Slothmonster. It is Quake, and both of these runners do have that Quake. So if SevenS1ns wants to, 46 minutes in, can peek his head inside, but I think he'll check everything else first before he even decides to make that play.
Yeah, it's a play that I can get behind, because you know that your opponent might choose to not do so just out of not wanting to do T-Rock with the fighter sword. So you can get a nice advantage out of it if you do make the play and it pays off.
Okay, here we go. Now, here's the first chest. Both of these runners can get to it. It would be the 20 rupees. And so we get 50 rupees out of both of these chests that we see at the same time. More money in Paradox Cave than you really need at this point. So nothing in Hookshot Cave. That's good news for Slothmonster at this point.
Yep, and similarly nothing in Paradox Cave. So that's the bulk of the items up here accounted for and worthless.
And more health and more arrows here in Super Bunny Cave for SevenS1ns. So nothing good. But we come up to our old bugaboo, Spiral Cave.
At least they have the boots for the inevitable big 20 waiting for them at the end.
We haven't seen much progression, so this will be the progression item here. The lamp. No, you're... Nah. It's this kind of seed. Lamp will be inside Mimic Cave.
I was just about to say, we got access to Mimic Cave. No way it's going to be as nice as putting it in Spiral.
Bombs the item here, and so SevenS1ns is going to be faced with a decision coming up in just a moment once he's done clearing out Paradox Cave. Does he make the play for Turtle Rock at this stage in the run? It's not a beatable dungeon without that ice rod, but as we've seen in past races, it can have that item you need to beat the game.
Yep, and your other, I'd say, main option available right now would be jumping into Swamp, which has the same amount of items, but is clearable. But it's kind of a toss-up which one would be the quote-unquote better choice.
Slothmonster's better play at this point, considering the fact that he does not have the sword, would be to go into Swamp.
Yeah, it's definitely the better choice for him, although we know the best thing for him to do would be to go into Skull Woods and get that sword.
All things considering, SevenS1ns is not mirroring at this point, so this gives me every reason... No, he's fluting. Okay. So he's going to flute away here from the Death Mountain, so he's not going to make the Turtle Rock play at this point. He's going to go ahead and buy some... looks like he's going to go ahead and buy some potions first.
So he may be planning on making that Turtle Rock play.
Well, let's see where he flews to. If he flews to 1, he's making the TR play. But he's not. He's going to make the Swamp play.
Which is definitely a viable play. The benefit being it's full clearable. The downside being you save a lot of time on Go Mode Swamp. You don't save a lot of time on Go Mode TR.
Slothmonster remembering that, unfortunately, in order to dash through the bushes, you need to have a pointy device. Otherwise, you bonk. Oh no, SevenS1ns is not making the Swamp play just yet. He's going to make the play for K45, or south of Haunted Grove, first. And Slothmonster's not making the play for Swamp. Come on. These guys are juking me.
Sloth is going to go over here to Pyramid, maybe over to Pod. Almost forgetting that you also need a sword to Hammer Dash. It's not very common to be 50 minutes into a run with no sword. A lot of these little things you just forget you aren't prepared for yet.
Just a reminder, the one sword that we do know of that SevenS1ns has was found in the big chest inside of Skull Woods. Slothmonster has not been there, nor does he have the bombos, which could still come into play, which is required for Misery Mire Green Pendant, 20 rupees on the Desert Ledge. That bombos was found in the Maiden Cell in Thieves' Town. You'd like some POD in the morning there, Slothmonster? It looks like that's where you're heading.
Good old Pod Dip. We'll see if it's bull locked. If it is, he might choose to use the potion glitch, although I don't actually think he has a potion on hand now I think about it.
Where are we going? Bonks into a tree. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're bonking into trees because we know a fairy's going to drop out of one. That's good knowledge.
That is, I had no idea there was a bonk tree with fairy prize there.
Most of those Dark World trees, at least for me, seem to always be, oh, there's our sword upgrade in Swamp. Most of these trees that I know of always seem to end up having the great ability of being, hey, look, guess what? Here's some bees. Have fun.
I remember a few versions ago, the bonk prizes were all randomized. So you're like, oh, I'm going to bonk this and get full magic. Nope, it's the bees.
Yeah, the worst one was the dash box that you had to bonk into to shortcut your way to Graveyard Ledge. Half the time, so we seem to be, bees, come on, you're lagging this thing.
Thankfully, that was back when I was relatively new to Randomizer and did not know about the bonk prizes, so it didn't really hurt me as much as it could have.
Oh my, have you grown? At least now you know that the bonk prize up there on Death Mountain gets you a fairy every time.
Has come in handy more times than I can count.
Big key just south of the big key chest, or the big chest. That's a nice find there for SevenS1ns, at least to better route this swamp. Finds a fairy in a bottle. That's 3 of our bottles. And SevenS1ns will go to Argus now.
Yep, we'll come back in for left side if necessary.
So we have found our keys for progression here inside of Palace of Darkness. And unfortunately, based on the keys, guess what? If there's going to be a bow in this dungeon, it could be deeper.
Yep, well, and part of you is kind of glad when you dip into pod and that's the case. Part of you is like, I really wish you would just lock me out.
Nice single arrow right next to the shovel. I mean, if this turns out to be something for Slothmonster and it leads to the bow later on, then that's great. Red mail inside Swamp Palace, that's a nice find. But you at this point, if this turns out to be absolutely nothing, you're going to be thinking, why couldn't you just lock me out immediately and save me the 3 minutes it's taken for me to search inside here.
Yep, and we're now to the point in the dungeon where it is a sequence break due to lack of lamp.
And just a key and a pair and a 20 rupee, and Slothmonster opting to mirror without checking that one chest south of the beetles there.
Well, the harmless hellway would have been a key.
Are we guaranteed that?
Yeah, he had found 5 keys by that point, and there were 3 items in the dark maze that couldn't be a key, so that had to be a key.
Good point.
Pod key logic is silly, but if you keep a decently close eye on it, you can usually work out if that and vanilla big key chests are keys or not.
While SevenS1ns finishes off with Argus, claims his 3rd crystal. That's something that Slothmonster is very well trailing at this point because of that lack of a sword. And it looks like Slothmonster is making the play for Catfish, as SevenS1ns is opting to go back in to check those 2 chests on the left-hand side.
I missed what Argus dropped, but I think there's at most 1 item in here.
That's what Chad is helping us to relay at this point, so totally understandable at this point. Let's see what we can't get, as we see what Catfish has in store, and we see what Left Hand Swamp has in store for both of these runners. 56 minutes in, nearing the hour mark of this match. Just a reminder that this is a 3-2 match between Slothmonster and SevenS1ns. The winner of this match improves to 4-2 and keeps their bracket hopes alive, where 5-2 is what you need to guarantee you a spot in the 128-person bracket field that's coming up beginning at the end of week 7. The loser, they dropped to 3-3, and their chances of making brackets at that point pretty much dropped to such a slim chance, because you really at this point need to be in the 4-2 match if you want to even have a chance at making the brackets as the tiebreaker at 4-3.
Yeah, I think the ideal situation is going 4-0 and then losing the last 3 in terms of the tiebreaker, but even if you can't have that, be in that 4-2 match, your opponents are going to have a little bit better end record, which puts you in a little bit better position.
And there's really not going to be many spots open either. We're only going to be maybe looking at maybe 1 or 2 spots, maybe 3 if the numbers really add up. But 116 people are coming out of the Swiss to move into the brackets.
Just a note, Slothmonster making the Swamp play is going to get his first sword, and that could push him to Skull Woods pretty soon, where he would get the 2nd sword.
That may be why Slothmonster is waiting off on this. Although, guess what Slothmonster is going to be unable to do in this dungeon?
Oh, he still hasn't done Bonk Rocks.
Yeah, which is extremely unfortunate, which means this is a double dip of Swamp coming up here for Slothmonster. But SevenS1ns making his way up north. I think it's time to make the Mothula play. There we go. Finally, a runner does something. When I say that they're going to do something, they're going to actually do it. Thank you.
Then he turns out to just check that 1 chest under the bridge and go, hey, I'll come back later.
Exactly.
The bright side here for him, Mothula, is going to be a lot easier than he would have been if he had fought him right away.
Yeah, we've got red mail. We've got a whole lot more hearts. We've got the Master Sword, which obviously you don't want to think of that as your major option, but if it comes down to it, it comes down to it.
Yep, and we got that hammer, where if you want the fight to be over quicker, then you can use that. It's just, you gotta be a little bit more careful.
We are still seeking out the bow. We are still seeking out the ice rod. Those are our two major items to go mode at this point.
And I guess worth pointing out that they are both items that could be on the pedestal.
Oh, you shut your mouth.
But I mean, it has to be pointed out, right? Chat will be mad at us if we don't point it out.
We have no way of knowing at this point. Even if SevenS1ns beats this dungeon, the only way we can find out right now is if Mothula decides, hey, I'm doing some reading while I'm waiting for you to come on by.
Okay, the idea of Mothula sitting there reading the book while waiting for a link to drop in just kind of makes me laugh a little bit.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Ah!
And Mothula is just holding on to the compass that tells where he lives. I just remembered that Slothmonster is going to have to do left side swamp the slowest way possible.
Slothmonster decides that he's going to go ahead and bomb the crystal switch to go ahead and change it. That's right, we don't have a boomerang to help hit that switch either.
If a fighter sword is just too tiny to reach it. Oh, second item in Skull Woods, 10 arrows.
Yeah, it had to be there because we've already seen everything else. So SevenS1ns mirroring out to the light world, and at this point, if we had a reading device, we'd get excited because this would be our pedestal check, and we could go ahead and put that to bed. But unfortunately, that is not to be the case.
7 now heading over to Pod, which we know is not going to yield much of anything. I mean, there could be an ice rod in the dark maze, but chances are low that, or there's only those couple locations that we haven't seen already.
Well, it still could possibly have the bow.
True, and Lamb could just be hidden somewhere evil.
Yeah, like we have yet to make our way into. SevenS1ns hasn't even checked the back 3 of Sahasrara slot either. But yeah, Lamp could very well be in Turtle Rock for all we know at this point, because we've yet to actually make it over that direction. Opted not to go into the dungeon at this point. Doesn't want to probably go in until he finds the ice rod, but who knows? The progression to the ice rod could be through a double dip of Turtle Rock. We've seen races in this tournament that have come down to even triple dips of Turtle Rock by logic, although our runners did it in doubles.
Yep, and I definitely get this play. I was thinking about it now. SevenS1ns hasn't done Eastern either, so he's going to be able to dip both these dungeons, which is up to 9 items that you could be looking at. Downside is after Swamp coming up almost entirely empty, you never feel good about that.
Yeah, Slothmonster's not really liking that right now, and let's see where Slothmonster ends up heading. It looks like Slothmonster's getting ready to go back into Desert to face off against the Lamolas. We know that's not going to be a play that yields a required item, but it's good to at least start getting some crystals underneath your belt. It's not a real good feeling mentally when at the hour mark you're sitting with only 1.
Yeah, and you know that, you had access to Swamp quite a while ago. Maybe your opponent got the sword there and has cleared a bunch of dungeons by now, which is almost the case, just slightly off.
Yeah, the big thing here for Slothmonsters is 1 crystal was the fact that he went into the Tower of Hera. He wasn't able to beat it, but got rewarded with a hammer.
I think the toughest thing about races, especially these ones where you're kind of facing elimination, is not letting yourself get distracted by those things that bug you. You know, he's definitely frustrated only having one crystal on hour mark, but the key thing is to not let that become the deciding factor of the race.
Yeah, you've got to keep yourself moving forward, and that's something that even I admit that I have trouble doing in my runs is, you know, and we're setting up ourselves with the hammer jump, which is a nice technique here by SevenS1ns. Does he get it? Keeps wiggling himself around. He gets it, gets rewarded for 50 rupees. Saves himself the key to the maze, but let's go ahead and see what we can find inside. It's going to go ahead and just poke himself over to the bottom left chest, or bottom right chest, finds that it's just a piece of heart. While we did that, Slothmonster just made easy work of Lamos and grabs crystal number 2 at the hour 5 mark.
Yep, and SevenS1ns going to have to mirror out of here, which it looks like he was aware of. Sometimes people make that hammer jump and then realize they don't have the key to get out of the maze after the fact.
Which guarantees what you were saying earlier. It was because of the key logic. It turns out a key for a key there in the harmless hellway.
And Sloth headed up here almost assuredly to make that Skull Woods play. Will be getting his Master Sword, and probably having a little bit more of a freak out at how early a sword was available.
Although SevenS1ns is going to do a key for a key at this point because he didn't go into the basement and found the key there. Oh no, it's not a key. Okay,
so right side is 2 keys then. I guess that adds up?
It has to. It has to be 2 keys on the right-hand side now.
Yeah, so there were 5 keys up front instead of the usual... I don't know, I'm confusing myself now. Regardless, that mushroom could be something?
No, there's got to be a key on the right-hand side. There's something else on the right-hand side, because we got the one in the basement. But that mushroom is interesting, because Slothmonster noped out of that.
So this could be a big moment.
Pod logic, friends. And it turns out that this is... Oh, the sword upgrade to tempered!
So that's a very nice find. It's not a game changer, but...
Yeah, but just think, Slothmonster could have had a sword a little bit sooner than the one he picked up in the Palace of Darkness. And SevenS1ns is making the Misery Mire play.
Yep, it's almost time to figure out if that Bombos medallion is required, and if it is, that's going to be a bad sign for Sloth.
I think that may be just game over at that point for Slothmonster if this Bombos turns into something, because Slothmonster's not going to be making that play for for Thieves Town. I don't see Slothmonster making that play anytime soon.
Yeah, he noped out as soon as he noticed his magic was too low to fight blind. And...
Yeah, and we can't fault him for doing that, because most of us would make that same play unless we weren't thinking about it. Oops, uh-oh, we don't have enough, and we're in ourselves a lot of trouble.
Yep, and at that point, you kind of treat it as, if I need to go back here, if there was something... it's going to be the last thing I do. It's kind of like the unwritten rule of when you have to make a gamble is, well, if I would have been right to do this and it works out, then my opponent's already ahead of me, so let's just assume it was nothing.
Yeah. Because I think at this point, what Slothmonster probably will likely do... Actually, yeah, I don't know if he checked the... Did Slothmonster even check the medallion requirement for Turtle Rock? I know SevenS1ns did, obviously.
I'm not sure if he did.
I'm not certain if he does, because he may not be thinking he's got access to Turtle Rock. So he may be forcing himself into Thieves Town after this.
Meanwhile, SevenS1ns has gotten nothing of consequence so far, but we're getting into kind of the meat of the dungeon.
We haven't even found any of the items yet. And SevenS1ns has used up his magic. Probably not the time when he really wanted to do so, but could have also grabbed that potion down the south. But gets the big key out of this one. We'll go ahead and check the... No, he's
trying to get out of the room.
trying to get out.
The tiles just really didn't want to let him move.
Out of my way.
I think we need to give whoever designed that floor a raise. That was the most successful tile room I've seen in quite a while.
And as a kid, I thought the tile room that we had in Turtle Rock was the most devious designed room.
I often forget that tile room exists.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of salt-inducing because they decide, oh, we're gonna put fairies behind that room too. There we go. Slothmonster making his way over. Okay, so the big key chest does have an item.
Yep, big key chest and Vidi, the two worst spots for the items to be.
In Green Pendant Palace or Misery Mire.
I mean, at that point, you gotta go do the boss, no matter what you find in this vanilla big key spot.
Depends on SevenS1ns' experience with dark rooms here in Mire.
Very true. Very true.
Like, we've seen SevenS1ns pull off the hammer jump, so I would have to assume that SevenS1ns does know his dark room here in Misery Mire, and will pull it off, and Slothmonster's probably going to be feeling really sick in about 20 seconds from now, even less than that, maybe about 15, 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ouch.
Yeah, that does not feel good.
Yeah, when you have a sword that you could have gotten sooner and a hook shot you could have had sooner after you just went through a swamp. Ether medallion, which we know is not required.
Yep, so that's one of 3 items behind Mire that the sloth doesn't have to worry about. Also, I like that Seven just set up that key dash through the door instead of just walking through it when it was about far enough away where it was an even time match.
Alright, let's see how SevenS1ns does with the dark rooms.
I'm curious which of the few strategies he uses here.
Looks like he's walking to the door and throwing the block. Perfectly done.
Yep, it's the little bit slower of the strategies, but a lot easier to get down without quite as much practice.
And Slothmonster making the play back into swamp. Totally get this play at this point. Very understandable. Ooh, SevenS1ns gonna have to be careful. Think he has another goo on his hands. It doesn't really matter once he gets out of this room. He can powder an or the bunny beam or an anti-fairy to replenish his health.
Yeah, as long as he makes it out this door.
Yeah, there he
Or
actually
does that.
powdered the anti-fairy in that room, which was surprising to me.
Just, you know, the little bit of swag strats to powder the dark fairy instead of the one in the broad daylight.
Oh, that's right. Just getting reminded that he does have the fairy he picked up in, I believe, in Swamp Palace.
Gonna be using NMG strats here, just damage boosting on that ooze and doing spin attacks on the eyes.
Yeah, when you've got the safeties that he does, you might as well at this point. Can't arrow down the eyes, so let's go ahead and just bat him into the corner and just keep wailing on him until he dies, or he gets out of the corner and he makes you feel upset that he got out of the corner.
What does Vitreous have? Arrow capacity.
Yep, and so the other question becomes, what is that green pendant for? Does Sahasrara have something required? We know Unless the hospital has something or the pedestal is required. That Bombos actually was not required.
Unfortunately, it'll be quite a while till we find out about one of those, but green pendant, I'm guessing we're going to see it right now.
Well, we have two options for dungeons that we can poke our head into at this point. One is beatable. It's for the other pendant. The other one, you can get inside, you can get maybe all 5 of the items, but you can't beat it.
Such an awful choice to have to make.
Sahasrara has 10 arrow upgrade.
So Slothmonster's loss of magic early on won't hurt him as long as it's not a pedestal seed.
We are still looking for the bow. We are still looking for the ice rod. They could very well be in the pedestal. They could very well be in ice rod or in the ice palace, which is where SevenS1ns is heading to next. Or they could both be in Turtle Rock. We're also still looking for the lamp, technically. And I do want to point out, that sword that SevenS1ns got for the mushroom, Slothmonster's never getting that.
Yeah, he will never ever see that sword. So here's a question. If you get all 3 items in ice before the boss, and you get either ice rod or bow, do you leave or do you get the pendant?
I think at this point you have to get the pendant, considering the fact that he's already beaten the other 2 pendants.
Yeah, I feel like there's kind of the mental balance of I've already wasted time on 2 pendants that didn't pay off. I can't waste more time than needed on a 3rd.
There's
and
one.
This might be the pedestal. Argus keeping that puff nice and safe from Slothmonster for a while there.
Of the items that we have yet to see, we only know 1 item that can't be on the pedestal that's grayed out in the inventory. That is the lamp. That is because of Misery Mire.
So lamp and ice palace, bow on pedestal, ice rod on Helmasaur.
You're mean.
I mean, it could be worse than that. That's not the meanest thing that I could come up with.
You're mean.
I actually really hope the pedestal isn't required because it would give Sloth a pretty nice boost where he's at. If he were to make the play up to TR and that had the items, then that could definitely get him back in this race.
Hey, he's gonna make that play back up there at some point, and I think he's making this. Well, he can't. That's right. He was thinking about going into Misery Mire, but he can't.
Yep, so where do you head now, Sloth, to check the shovel?
He's checking the shovel, yeah.
Which is something we haven't seen yet. Seven didn't check that.
Oh, SevenS1ns is going right straight to Cold Stare. And Magic Cape for the Cane of Burna turns out to be over at the dig. Does that get him up to Death Mountain to check Spike Cave? Oh, yeah. We're making the play.
He's got Spike Cave. He's also got that Hookshot Cave he couldn't check earlier that helps pull him up here. So now the question is, does he have little enough left where he says, let's go to T-Rock?
He's got to at this point. You know, if he's thinking that he's behind, he's got to make that play and hope that SevenS1ns has not made that play. SevenS1ns is not going straight to Cold Stare. He just dropped down. I thought he was going into the room. Maybe he was thinking about it, but opted not to do so.
Yeah, he actually used that little tongue lever on the right side that you never see anyone actually touch.
Yeah, he realizes he can't leave here without the other 2 items at this point.
That also makes me think that he came in here specifically to make the play on the pedestal. and then kind of as an afterthought went, oh yeah, there are other items I should probably get before I get out of here.
Big key. We've only seen that one item, and that was in the first chest.
Sloth is going to open TR, going to go to Hookshot Cave.
Yeah, he doesn't know what this medallion is just yet, but he's going to find out that it is the one he has with the Quake.
It's going to get very interesting depending on how Ice Palace ends.
Oh, in ice!
And
And
he
that's
is
enough to know.
leaving. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that play.
I'm not certain about that play either, but he's thinking he's got enough reason to go and press on further at this point. So Ice Palace is the play. If it gets him into go mode, who knows? We know the right-hand side, based on what we saw from SevenS1ns, is going to have a key, and there's something else up for grabs at this point.
Yep, and so I believe that would be 2 items in pods. I believe, well, 2 things that aren't keys, at least one of which I believe is an item. And then one item Eastern we haven't seen.
We are still missing the ice rod. Could Slothmonster find it here in the Spike Cave? The Spike Cave has been a very interesting destination. Please have enough magic. I've seen too many people die in this room. There we go. We got it. And there is a piece of heart.
One of the most disappointing things to find at the end of Spike Cave, especially when it starts healing you.
Okay, so we've got the compass left here in the Palace of Darkness. We already had the map, so that means one of the 2 items will be. We've got a small key we're still going to find, but the other thing is going to be the last dungeon item and the compass. So, key, compass, item. There's the key.
And
There's the compass. So, Helmsar King will have the final item. We know it won't be the lamp.
You even got that order of how they were going to lay out, right? I think you know something.
Yeah, Slothmonster's going back into Thieves Town. And he will find... that Bombos, and that may make Slothmonster think of going into Pendant Mire. This could still be a pedestal required seed, and it could still very well be for the ice rod, or it could be for the book that leads you to the ice rod. We don't know. Well, what we do know is SevenS1ns is going to be going up against the Helmsar King coming up in just a moment. Let's see how he does with the vicious dark rooms here. He does have the fire rod, but he doesn't have enough shots for the fire rod, so he's going to have to do this completely in the dark unless he wants to waste away one of his potions.
Yeah, and this Dark Turtle room is easily the worst dark room in the game. Meyer gets a lot of hate for the dark rooms, but this specific room right here gets that 1 fire rod shot off, which is just enough to get through it, and can now head on to Helmsar.
Well, he got through the dark room. That's pretty good. Now time to go face off against the Helmsar King.
Surprisingly, Helmsar King was not really made to be fought with a tempered sword and red mail, which makes him a little bit easier.
Yeah, silver arrows too, in case he actually wanted to go that route too. So, Slothmonster getting the bombos, and this is not the news that Slothmonster wants to see. And the Helmsar King is down. Does he drop the ice rod for go mode? No, he drops the 10 bombs.
So we're gonna see the Armos play next, and then 7 is gonna be the first one going into Tier Rock.
Yeah. And at this point, just based on how everything's going, if it turns out not being Turtle Rock, the third item of Ice Palace or the pedestal could still very well be that Ice Rod. But first, it's time for Eastern Palace.
I feel like the third item of Ice Palace almost has to be the lamp.
But that gets rid of our possibility of Mimic Cave.
Oh yeah, lamp and TR. That's right. I was thinking of, well, if Ice Rod's not in TR, that leaves these places. That would leave the same places for Lamp. But that's assuming that Lamp's not there. Oh, and Sloth headed right to Meyer.
Yeah, you had to figure that at this point. This was pretty much a foregone conclusion once he found that Bombos. So Slothmonster's real chance at this point is if he opts to go for the pedestal.
Yeah, if he kind of focuses in on that idea, he could probably be finishing Ice around the time that 7 is wrapping up, going into, or dipping through T-Rock. So if the Ice Rod were on pedestal, it would give him about enough time to even things out a bit.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that he would have to continue with the path despite finding the bow, and we already saw that that was what happened with SevenS1ns. He got the bow, he noped out of the remainder of the Ice Palace. Who knows? I have a feeling, I really have a strong feeling at this point that this is going to turn out to be we're going all the way through Turtle Rock before we even dare deal with the pedestal requirement.
Yeah, which I absolutely understand at this point. I think it was a very bold move jumping out of Ice Palace when 7 did. But once you did, yeah, you don't bet on pedestal until you don't have another option. Sloth, on the other hand, if he feels behind,
Ice Rod is in Eastern!
Oh!
127-14, 7S1ns, the first of these runners into
go mode.
And Slothmonster not doing the dark room earlier. We didn't even know that, but there it is.
Yep, I did not expect it in Eastern. There were a lot of places I expected the Ice Rod, and Eastern was not one of them.
So that means Thieves' Town was not required. Pendant Mire, not required. But you had to make it to the big key chest of Ice Palace to get your bow that would help lead you towards go mode.
We still have no idea where the lamp lays. That was a nicely timed hitting of that Armos Knight. Well done, 7S1ns.
Yep, and there we get a her container out of that, and now it is time to head to Turtle Rock to finish off this match here for 7S1ns. Now, here's the thing. That noping out of Ice Palace, you wouldn't have made that play, I wouldn't have made that play. 7S1ns would have had 5 minutes on us.
Yep, it was 100% the right play for this seed.
Now, if only the Cabbages could actually cooperate here for 7S1ns so he can actually make his way through, and tries to make his way here through the remainder of Death Mountain, which is not playing nice for 7S1ns at this point. And Slothmonster gets both items out of Misery Mire and has noped out of the dungeon. I think Slothmonster may be making the play now for Turtle Rock, but it's going to be the wrong play that we know at this point. First, let's go ahead and try to free the old man.
If he does go into Turtle Rock, it's just going to be a path to disappointment for him, unfortunately.
And I think this has been pretty much the theme of the seed here for Slothmonster. It's been really a path of disappointment. Just the plays did not pay off, and SevenS1ns countered by making. He didn't make the right plays for a good part of this run either, but made enough of the right plays.
I'd say the best way to put it is the wrong plays that he made ended up a little bit more efficiently done. He kind of went back to areas less often, cleared stuff in one go more often. So they're about equal in terms of places they've uselessly checked, but Seven just kind of did it more efficiently.
Well, it comes down to what he ended up picking up. Going through Skull Woods when he did to get that first sword really gave that path to pulling it off more efficiently. Slothmonster not getting to Bonk Rocks before going up to the mountain really harmed him because he doubled up on the mountain, and that also led him to doubling up on Swamp Paths because he didn't go back to the Bonk Rocks until much later.
Yep, it's a lot of times you do end up seeing that in races, is that just a couple of things that get checked later can cause everything in the interim to take significantly longer.
There's a fairy in a bottle, so I think SevenS1ns has enough safeties at this point to get him through the remainder of this game. Slothmonster does poke his head into Turtle Rock. We'll get to see a location that we're not going to see from SevenS1ns out of Slothmonster. That's Mimic Cave.
Come on, Mimic Cave Lamp.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter where that lamp is at this point for SevenS1ns because guess what? This Turtle Rock Dark Room, if he knows his complete path around, it won't be any problem for him whatsoever.
Yeah, it's surprisingly one of the easiest dark rooms just because you pretty much do it by muscle memory in the light.
Make it 2 locations we're not going to check here in this Turtle Rock before the lamp block, and that will be also the big key chest location.
And looking a little bit ahead toward when SevenS1ns gets to GT, Tempered Sword, Silver Arrows, Boots, Powder, pretty much everything you could want to make clearing GT nice and easy and nice and quick.
And with 2 fairies in a bottle, he's got enough replenishments to make sure that nothing's really going to happen to him.
Is making a pretty smooth work of TR right now.
He's employing some good strategies here with some of these pokies. Unfortunately, not getting them to hit the double swing on them, which would have really made it a whole lot easier for him. He's going to need to preserve a little bit of that magic remaining because he does need enough for the Kane and Samaria block to be formed in that one particular room. And Slothmonster just camping out, waiting for this Chain Chomps to leave him alone. Oh, gets hit once, gets hit twice, he's dead.
Should have, yep, there's the fairy. I was gonna say with no, I forget where. Oh yeah, with SevenS1ns, you gotta wonder how much nerves are hitting them now. With this being an elimination match, knowing that you've done 2 pendant dungeons that weren't required at all, you don't feel great no matter what time in the race it is.
Absolutely. So make it 3 chests for the roller room. We'll find out 3 new locations here from Slothmonster where that slam possibly could be. And it looks like SevenS1ns is on the right path. Looks like he's doing this pretty well. It's a textbook. So yeah, there we go.
Yep, I don't know if you've ever tried to actually like navigate that room with the markings on there. I don't think it actually is possible.
Map inside of the big key chest as SevenS1ns makes his way through the final stretch here before we get on going to Ganon's Tower. Just a reminder that, as you mentioned, this is kind of an elimination match for both of these runners at 3 and 2. Loser goes to 3 and 3. Their chances of making brackets very, very extremely thin. I mean, we're probably talking 0.0001% chance of making the brackets. And for the winner, they keep their bracket hopes alive as far as being able to play and win in next week at 4 and 2.
Which, just looking at the list of people 4 and 2, is going to be not the most fun place to be next week.
Yeah, but at least there you're in control of your destiny.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the better place to be. It's just, it's terrifying.
And as Renix blows up, get ready guys, it's time to play Find the Big Key.
Yep. There are going to be 22 locations in GT and the basement, one of which has the big key, which is the only one that we really care about.
So pick a number between 1 and 22. Tell us where you think the big key is going to be located as we go ahead and see what's inside Mimic Cave. Mimic Cave, just a piece of heart. Sorry, Rick. So much for the Mimic Cave lamp.
So the lamp is lost forever.
Well, it could still be in a roller room.
True, true. So where do you think this big key is going to be?
I'm going to say chest number 9 today. And where do you think it's going to be?
I'm going with my go-to of 22. Want to make SevenS1ns run around the basement as long as possible before eventually admitting defeat with tile room.
Nope, so bombs turns out to be it. So the last location we had not seen had to be Cold Stair.
If it's gotta be that last item in ice, which means that Pendant Ice Palace had 2 required items, because of course it did.
And maybe not necessarily that. It could still have had the book.
Well, yeah, but then the book would have been a required item. These Gibdos are not being very nice to SevenS1ns right now.
They know he's in the lead. They want to make sure that he does this with a little bit of stress. Well, never mind that being the book. So Lamp had to be at Cold Stair. Interesting decision not to pick up that key also for SevenS1ns.
Yeah, it's a dangerous thing to not pick that key up. I have seen that hurt people in the end. Laser Bridge had, as expected, nothing.
And Slothmonster's going to go ahead and leave his portal behind, but he's going to have to lose that portal anyway by the time he gets to where the ice rod turned out to be. And even there, he probably will find the bow first.
Well, he could get the ice rod without losing the portal, but it would take a very strange decision to make that happen.
Oh, there's Butter Sword.
If Ganon wasn't easy enough for you with 4 bottles, silver arrows, the tempered sword, and red mail, here, have butter. That was what, chest 12 there?
Yep, that would be chest number 12 right there. As we make our way over to chest number 13 here in the fireball bar room. And there it is, chest number 13. Turns out to be our winner today.
Okay, and SevenS1ns does have one key, so he is free to head upstairs.
Slothmonster going into Ice Palace, so he will have the bow coming up.
And we'll see if he sticks around long enough to find that lamp.
So, congratulations for choosing chest number 13. Well done. Slothmonster now a nice pass, so we'll pick up the bow real soon, but still a nice ride away from go mode. SevenS1ns on the way up to the tower. 2.5 hearts. Will be interesting to see if he does. No, he does not. I was going to say if he checks to go and grab the safety fairies before going up to the gauntlet. But with 2 fairies in a bottle plus the potions, I think he feels he's pretty fine at this point. Probably thinks he's in a race to win this seat. He probably has an idea that he may be behind because of the extra travels he made.
Yeah, I mean, the dips that he did make, the Thieves Town, the Mire dip, they aren't exactly unlikely plays for others to make, but you never assume anything but the absolute best of your opponent.
Yeah, for as far as SevenS1ns is concerned right now, that Slothmonster could very well have skipped out on Misery Mire, which had nothing required, and could right now be facing Ganon.
Could be suffering a sprite despawn and starting back at the beginning of the tower, and this is the moment to take the lead.
And SevenS1ns gets hit with the fireball rather, before Lamo dies, but with the fairy in the bottle, we get ourselves replenished. Don't have to do this all over again.
Now coming up to the Wizard rooms, which are, quite honestly, some of my favorite rooms in the game. I know Samaria was designed to press blocks, but I really want to know if the projectile idea for it was somewhat designed around these rooms.
As a kid growing up, I never even thought of using the Cane of Samaria in that room. As we do see SevenS1ns go ahead and use up the blue goo. So he's used up 2 of his safeties already in this trip up the tower. I'm certain one of them was not by design, and the other one here was by force.
Yep, it's when you get to the point where the nerves are kicking in like this, those definitely start to get eaten up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's the thing with what's going on with SevenS1ns right now. This is a lot to do with his nerves right now. He's got to be really concerned about his position in this race. Again, when you go through 2 pendant dungeons and they're not required, you've got to be thinking the worst of this case.
I know I personally would be sitting here right now thinking, why haven't I seen it done yet? Is he just falling to Ganon over and over again for the past 20 minutes?
Yeah, he's clearly got to be again at this point.
Instead, very, very quick Control Dorm 2, heading up to Aghanim 2, which should be... well, Aghanim 2 is kind of hit or miss.
Aga 2 is a lesson in how to deal with geometry.
And also a lesson in hoping they don't desync very quickly and make it a nigh impossible fight to do quickly.
Nice double on round 1. Got him perfectly lined up here for what should be a pretty solid double there. Maybe a triple. Should be a 5. Yeah, that's 5. That's good. Beautiful fight against
Very
Daga
nice.
2 there for 7-Sins.
Now just down to Ganon. The most well-equipped you could possibly be. And
Slothmonster. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just finding his bow and entering go mode.
Not yet.
True, he has shown some reluctance with Darkroom or Ice Rod,
No,
but I was gonna say
Ice Rod.
yeah, I was gonna say he has shown that reluctance with Darkroom, so he might need the lamp to get the Ice Rod.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much what's come down here for Slothmonster is the only Darkroom he really has done for us at this point was the one in Turtle Rock.
Yep, and I think he also did the old man cave eventually.
Alright, Ganon, you can stop warping at any time now. It's time to go ahead and affix 4 silver arrows to you to finish you off.
One day we'll have a rando seed with a repeat of Andy's 37.
No. Just no. Nice use of getting the torch glitch. Didn't really need it there. Tried for a triple, didn't get it. 4th silver arrow to 7-Sins. This is Slothmonster's going up against Cold Stare, and 7-Sins keeps his tournament brackets hopes alive with the win over Slothmonster as he gets ready to pop in through the door. Get your GGs out for 7-Sins, winner of this match over Slothmonster.
And he finishes with an official time of 1:46.22. Which, honestly, on a scene where you pretty much full cleared all the dungeons, is a very, very nice time.
And there's the lamp from Cold Stare.
Logic has been restored.
We'll wait it out and see if 7-Sins wants to join us for an interview now that his quest is over, and here he comes.
Test.
Hey, Test.
Oh, hi. Hi.
Your test is fully successful. Your quest is over. You won this seed. What's your thoughts?
I thought I was definitely gonna lose.
Your play through Ganon's Tower seemed to give us that illusion that you were, and it was an interesting seed in these find out which of the pendant dungeons was to be required. Turned out that Ice Palace was. Was that why you felt like you were behind? Was because of the Thieves Town and Misery Mire gambles?
Yep, exactly. The Thieves Town and Misery Mire, I was like, okay. These are, I was trying at some point to like figure out what the bombos meant and the combination of the hook shot, and because I went all the way, cleared all of Death Mountain and there was nothing there. And then I made the play to go to Pod Bolus, and I was like, nah, it can't be here, but I kind of, did it anyway, and I was hesitating, like, should I go in or out? Because like the bow has probably already been found at this point. And after I got out of Pod and I went in there, like I just felt so behind. Like, I'm like, following that bomb boast to go into Misery Mire. It was like, okay, yeah, this is over.
So you pulled out the mushroom. Were you really hoping to find the bow there when you turned the mushroom into the potion shop?
Yeah, I was actually gambling on the lantern being a catfish or something, like on the pyramid, so that I did all the dark rooms thinking that they were in the logic, basically. I don't know, where was the lantern?
Cold Stare turns out to be a Slothmonster found it just a few moments ago.
Oh, wow, okay, interesting. Yeah, that's I saw the bow and ice spells, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna go deeper in here.
And that was an interesting decision, considering the fact that the ice rod was still out there and the pedestal still was being considered. With you with 2 pendants, why did you not go for the pedestal at that point?
I don't think you ever go for a pedestal if you feel behind. I think that you have to think of the plays that your opponent would not make, which in my scenario was like, go Ice Palace over Like maybe go for a pendant play or well, I mean, not like that, but you know, I don't know. It was just not in my consideration whatsoever. There were too many locations, and I mean, it's the ice rod. It can be anywhere. But I was afraid that the bow was going to be on the pedestal.
Yeah, for a while they were wondering that, and then all of a sudden there it is inside Ice Palace, and there was the ice rod inside Eastern Palace, and that was an interesting location for the ice rod. That you were the first one to actually find it, given its location being widely available from the get-go.
Yeah, that was another point where I was considering, like, oh, well, you know, ice rod's already been found by my opponent. There's absolutely no way someone does not go into Eastern in this logic in this way, but I guess I was wrong, and I'm glad I was wrong, because had Sloth gone there, I think it would have been his race to lose and not mine. It's interesting to see this though, because I'm looking at a screen right now and I'm seeing the items that he has, and it's kind of making the same plays, I guess.
Yeah, he came in here earlier into the Palace of Darkness, but he only went through as far as he went downstairs, he got the 2 chests inside that dark room, but he ended up going to the beetle room and left this dungeon while going to the Harmless Hellway, probably thinking it was a key for a key, but it turned out to be for the mushroom, which is not what you want to find when you're not in go mode. Yeah, it was the worst feeling. But honestly, the seed was pretty interesting. Like, I've been trying to relearn Rando in the sense that I kind of want to, you know, gamble more. And this seed has kind of stopped me from trying to gamble outside of the dark rooms. So that was kind of, I was a little bit at an advantage there with my old play style that tried to kill everything, but yeah. You made one gamble that I think that paid off at the very beginning, and that was going into Skull Woods. Obviously, you didn't finish the dungeon. You didn't have the health probably to finish it up, but getting that sword helped you out early on, because it did give you the ability to go deeper into Thieves Town, which turned out to be nothing, but it did also get you the crystal out of Desert early enough.
Yeah, fighting the sword was really satisfying. That was nice. I gotta ask, by the way, I don't know if you guys were watching, but I was opening the wall there to go for the big magic pot, but it wasn't there. Like, it was not underneath the skull. Is that because of a sprite limit or something? Yeah,
you got hit with this sprite despawn at that point. Something having to do with too many sprites at that point in time. We saw you go for it, but that was a tough one to have to stomach, and you're probably going, what the blank?
Yeah, yeah, I was like, wait, what? Where's my magic pot? I need my magic, because I'm pretty sure I used up the last of it, so yeah. But yeah, that was fun though. I mean, fun because I won, but not fun because, you know, I definitely felt behind from the very moment that, especially Misery Meyer came into my head, and I went through the dark rooms and I killed Viddy, and I was like, oh, yeah, yep, it's GG if the green pendant doesn't have anything. And then it's like, rip. But well, yeah.
Your opponent ended up doing another thing at this point. He ended up getting the boots, just like you did, but he didn't go to the bonk rocks.
Oh, never got the hook shot. Oh,
he didn't get the hook shot, which he went up to the mountain, no problem. I mean, the hammer saved him being in Hera. That saved him, but he also went to Swamp Palace without the hook shot.
Oh, yeah, that's yeah. Wow, that was painful. That is painful.
Yeah, the way I kind of described it earlier was you guys made a lot of the same quote-unquote wrong decisions, but because of him missing out on that early sword and on that hook shot, he kind of had to make those decisions twice, where you only had to make them once, and that's really where your advantage came from.
Yeah, it was a pretty evil seed in that regard. I mean, I'm never gonna forget the ice rod in the big key chest for Eastern Palace. Like, it's so often that you play a seed and you know that there's something is gonna be in Eastern, but you're like, I got the mirror, I got full Dark World access. You know, I want to combine this with Pod, and then the last item, thankfully, in this case, that actually paid off because I never looked for the bow in Eastern. But it was always in the back of my head, like, what if it is there? Considering that the lamp was already found. But, yeah. Lantern on Cold Stare.
Yeah, that's... Gotta love that. So you now improve to 4-2, and you keep your tournament bracket hopes alive. Heading into next week, you're going to be amongst the 100+ people fighting on for the remaining bracket spots in this tournament. Your thoughts going into week number 7?
I'm not sure. The competition has been really good. I feel that people that like I have a little bit of an edge over my execution because I'm more execution based than I'm not the smartest guy in the world. You know, I can't always deduce the logic, so I have to gamble a lot that I play well and not that I make the right choices. But people have been like racing past me by just, you know, deducing that logic and making the right plays. That technique doesn't really come into play often enough that you have fair competition. And honestly, I feel that my chances are good, but I wouldn't say I'm guaranteed to like get a spot. It's gonna be hard, but I'm hoping that I'll pull it off. And obviously, you know, put in that practice.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't envy those of you in the 4-2 group, because that is a lot of people who are terrifying to have to worry about facing.
Yeah, you have to remember that the 4-2 bracket is also a little bit down to bad luck. So if you got some really good players that had some really bad seeds, like I actually had a few seeds ago, where technically I should have kind of won if I made one different play, and you just end up in like fighting for a bracket spot. That happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with Randomizer, though. You never know when that gamble is going to be needed. You never know when that pendant dungeon is going to be required. And, you know, this case, the pendant dungeon that was required was Ice Palace for the good old bow.
Yeah, I guess the valuable lesson that I did learn from this is, though, no one skips Thieves Town. That's good to know. I'm always never sure because it came up empty. I'm like, okay, except for the bombos, that is. But
yeah, Slothmonster ended up noping out of Thieves Town earlier. He did open up the bomb wall for the light, but he didn't have enough magic because he didn't have the sword. So he ended up doubling back that up when he came back in to find the bombos, which sent him on a direction further than where he needed to go to get to where progression turned out to be in this seed.
Yeah, I don't care what the pros say. Everyone says that Skullwoods has changed in V29. It's no longer Value Woods, but it is. Every seed I play, I get like 80% shot of something important being there every single time.
Until I play and get 10 arrows and a bomb capacity upgrade, and I'm like, what value?
I feel you, man.
Meanwhile, I was burned for skipping Skullwoods in V29 for the first time, I think, since it came out this morning. So I have the exact opposite experience of you.
Wow, Skullwoods always has something for me every single time.
Also, one other thing I'd ask about this seed, how about the money early on?
Oh, it was really nice to have that much cash. Not worry about rupee routes. Just to give a little bit of backstory, I am really bad with math. So I've stood at Pod with like 108 rupees thinking I had enough money. I've been to Zora with 493 rupees thinking I had enough. For me, it's a blessing. It's such a blessing whenever I see that. When I get a lot of money, it's like, oh, yay, I don't have to do maths. It's great.
Also helped out the crabs ended up dropping 20 rupees, which turned out not to be needed once you got done with Kakariko Village and already had over 1,000.
Yeah. It's a reflex. You just pick that up automatically. You see a big red rupee, you're like, that's mine.
You have no way of knowing, though, at that point. You had no way of knowing that you're going to find 3 of your 300 drops early on.
Yeah. Yeah, how much money did we actually end with? A Sloth on 671, yeah. Yeah, this was a rich seed.
Yeah, and some of that went into potion purchases, too. So if you didn't even buy a single potion, you had probably about 1,000. So Yeah, that Ganon's Tower seemed to be quite rough for you. That was nerves on your behalf, correct?
It was the lack of magic. I never go through Ganon's Tower with lack of magic. And this was the first time that I had to do it, and I was kind of improvising, like, when do I use the blue potion? I was, like, considering it. And after I killed the Lambos, I was like, oh, yeah, I should use it now. And then I got sniped. And then I died, and the fairy triggered, and I was like, ah.
Yeah. Well, thankfully you did have the fairy, because that gauntlet would probably have been a really salty gauntlet for you to have to go back through.
Yeah, I have, I think I had another fairy, right? I spared an extra one.
Yeah, you had 2 fairies. You got the one that you grabbed in, I want to say in Turtle Rock, and then you had the one that you got in Swamp.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I felt even if I can do one-hit KO runs, I feel like sometimes you just gotta not overestimate your own skills, and bad things can happen. You know, nerves can kick in. So having that fairy in the back of your head is always really, really comforting, because normally it would have gotten me off my game. You know, if you die at Landmos, like at that point without a fairy, game over, man. Like you just start playing like garbage. But I'm able to control my nerves this way. It helps.
As we watch Slothmonster, he's going to finish off this run. Hey, he's heading towards the Trinex fight. We'll have the Master Sword. Never did turn in the mushroom to find the sword upgrade. Didn't have to, because he found the ice rod coming out of Eastern, but he will end up getting the tempered sword inside Ganon's Tower, which was in the fire bar room. English, it's tough.
I'm Dutch. I know all about it. Yeah, that butter sword was sweet though.
It's always nice to be like, well, I didn't need this, but sure.
Slothmonster, they're waiting for the red head to extinguish. Should have pretty much just at that point decided to go and use the Master Sword swipes or swings at that point, and is running out of magic and takes him down, thankfully, on the last blast he had.
That's always the concern with having to use the hammer on Trinex, is those times when just like 2 shots miss and you're like, oh, well, need to hit this one.
Oh, can I just say one more thing?
Absolutely.
Our privacy policy has been updated.
I saw that as the uncle message.
Oh my god, I lost my stuff. I literally went into, like, I couldn't stop laughing.
It's so appropriate too.
It was hilarious.
I think that was actually the first time that I've seen that one.
That is the first time I've seen that too. Alright, Slothmonster finished off with Trinex heading over towards Ganon's Tower. Let's cheer him on to the finish line here.
Okay, so there are 22 chests. I'm gonna guess 15.
Blah, 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 something, something, chest 8. Chest 9, rather. And when you're feeling behind, there's no worse feeling than going right-hand side and finding that it comes up empty, too.
True, although that is the standard enough play where I feel like you can't feel too bad.
Chad wants to know how many bongs you had, 7.
24, 23. It was, it felt good getting a low number like that.
That bonk might cost Slothmonster the ability to get through the torches in time. We'll see. Oh, he does. Gets it through there with enough time.
Just shoot silver arrows right at those Gibdos to avoid the trouble that 7 had against them.
I was dancing with the Gibdos because of the magic. I was like, wait, I can't shoot.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a laugh out of the fact that they were just like mobbing you in that corner there. Like, no, you can't go.
They're better than those American gladiators.
Like, I also suggested whoever made the flooring for the tile room in Meyer should get a raise.
Yeah, that tile room gave you the business.
I don't want to talk about it. Meyer was mean, by the way, with the layout. That was so mean. I don't think I've ever been like given the runaround that like badly in Meyer.
Let's put the two items in this dungeon, both utter crap, at the big key chest and Vitreous.
Yep. I've actually never had that combination before yet, but you know.
Is their first time for everything.
Exactly.
Okay, I don't know if we saw the stun prize at any point, but just seeing on Slothmonster's screen that it was big 20s, and that just seems so fitting for the rest of the seed.
Well, it's a money seed. You might as well make it 20s.
And the relief that Sloth must have just felt finding that tempered sword there.
Yeah, the relief for, good, I get to be done with this game in probably about a minute faster now.
Big key coming up has two small keys, won't have to worry about the mini Helmasaur, can just go straight on through to Ganon through the gauntlet. Although, also very, very lacking on magic going in here.
Yeah, thankfully the anti-fairy left him alone.
I'm kind of curious if he still has any potions remaining. I know he bought some, but I don't recall if he used everything he bought yet or not.
I am not 100% certain on that one.
So it does get a certain point in GT where if you don't have enough magic and you don't have potions, your option is pretty much mirror out and start again.
I think the options are you're screwed and you're screwed.
So slightly better options than the sprite despawn, but not by much.
But we'll give him a small magic thing, why not?
It's gonna switch right to the fire rod, so gonna hope that means he has magic potion stored up.
Ooh, leaves the big jar behind. Probably wishes he had that at that point. But, you know, it's one of those things. Your reflexes are saying, hey, look, run to the door. Oh, too late.
Yep, and with the doors over here being the automatic doors, where as soon as you get close enough, they just pull you through. You might even notice that and be like, no, go back. No, I can't move up anymore.
By the way, just want to remind you that with Slothmonster having the lamp, it's going to be an easier fifth floor for him.
Very, very true. Gonna help to mitigate that lack of magic.
Because he'll get the small jar here, I believe. Or, yeah, he'll get the small jar. And then get another small jar, why not?
Wizrobe's helping out, like, you know what, you've done enough. We're gonna make sure that you're nice and easy going the rest of this.
Almost had the Wizro, but just couldn't get his right input to go in and just in time for the sword swing.
Good old lamp. You're useful for something.
Cape, to answer chat, turned out to be at the dig spot. But you needed to get the cane of Burna. And what was bombs at the... no, it was a piece of heart, wasn't it, at the Spike Cave. So that's what you needed the safeties for at this point. Slothmonster with the keys in hand has opted not to go kill the mini Helmsars. And as he's making his way over to Moldorm 2, I'll point out some of the matches we got coming up on this final day of Week 6 of the Link to the Past Randomizer Tournament. Going on right now in Speed Gaming 3, we had Sapphire Beeble Brox 4 versus Dust Sun. That's going on in Speed Gaming 3 with Dr. Bob Tastic and Odeamonistic on the call. Coming up at 2 o'clock, we have no major glitches on this channel, Speed Gaming 2. Christos Owen versus Dark Mind Demon. And Girdle versus Zero Rush with Emo Zero and John Carl on the call for that. Also at 2 o'clock, we have Phyllian versus Meganix. That is the rematch of the 2-second tie. That happened yesterday. That's going to be over on Speed Gaming 4. Dude, and Slim Kirby on the call for that. Area versus Lunchtime App on Speed Gaming 5. That's on Speed Gaming 5 at 3 o'clock. A little bit later on, Sapphire Compatco and Giselle Schaff will be here on Speed Gaming 2 at 4 o'clock. And later on, KJB, the Hero versus Korea on Speed Gaming 3 to wrap up week number 7. Alright, week number 6 of this 7-week Swiss tournament.
Shoutouts to Slothmonster for the swag and them strats.
And also we got the Sega Championships, day number 3 of the tournament coming up, with the championship coming up tomorrow. That being presented by Sega with a prize pool. That's happening over on Speed Gaming 1 this afternoon. Big day of that coming up. I believe Sonic the Hedgehog's on that list of games for today.
I have not gotten a chance to watch that tournament so far. I want to go back and watch the VODs of it sometime soon.
Yep. This day number 3, once again, championships tomorrow, and then a mirror mode coming up on Tuesday, 5 o'clock Eastern. Oh, nice use of the NMG strats there with the Trident.
Does have a blue potion, decides to pull that out to play it safe.
Yeah, I love the fact that Slothmonster was able to pull that off right there. That's beautiful use of the no major glitches technique there. The bonk off, the clink off the Trident.
Yep, wasn't quite able to manage the 1-in-1 cycle because I should say all the time, that is a very difficult trick to do. But getting the double hit made sure that he got that perfect position for round 2, thanks to RNG putting him again up in that top right corner.
And here we go into stage number 4. Gets him in here the corner, gets a single arrow on him, pulls out the fire rod. Doesn't need the torch glitch here. He's going to wait out the bat at least and then get him over. That's beautiful timing, beautiful patience here. Go get the double on him and then get him over to the top left corner. Gets the final arrow on him, and Slothmonster has finished this seed about 25-27 minutes behind SevenS1ns time, but get your GGs into here for Slothmonster finishing this seed off.
Yep, he played a pretty good race, just unfortunately those couple locations that he didn't hit as early as possible added a ridiculous amount of time to the run. almost silly how much just a couple of things that you don't get as soon as your opponent can change the run you guys both have. And this was one of the glowing examples of it in race form, honestly. But
absolutely, and it turned into a 27.5-minute defeat here for Slothmonster to drop into 3-3 in the tournament.
Yep, and he played quite well. It's not like he played poorly. He played quite well, and honestly is going to have to go out there next week if he's willing to try to give himself any bit of a chance of getting into those brackets.
And it was just a case of just Slothmonster making the plays made sense. Just the ones that he ended up not making at the times that he needed to just came back to haunt him. So it is what it is. I mean, it is Randomizer for you.
Yep, it's part of what makes the races of this, at least in my opinion, so fun to watch and take part in, is you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes things go nice and smooth. Sometimes they don't go smooth at all. And the fact that that can happen to the best runners, the worst runners, wherever in the middle most of us fall, makes it really interesting to watch. But sometimes, as I'm sure it is for Sloth, it hurts a bit.
Slothmonster has opted to pass on the interview, so we will give our GGs out here to Slothmonster and wish him the best of luck coming up in week number 7. So let's go ahead and wrap things up. Congratulations to SevenS1ns.
Thank you. GG to Sloth as well. If you hear this, man, good luck on your on the next race as well. You can still make it. You can do it. Do it. Sorry.
So, fair.
And
Rick, this is the second time this week I have commentated with you. Thank you for joining me again at this.
yeah, you had a pretty fun time the first time we did it, so might as well do it a second time. So I had fun doing it with you, and we'll do it again sometime down the road. Again, words are hard. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up here for Michael K, our tracker. Special thanks to him hitting the buttons when we needed him to hit all the buttons behind the scenes. Also for Fiesel running the show back over at Speed Gaming. For our runners, Slothmonster, SevenS1ns, be sure to give them a follow and give them big thanks for putting us a good show for today. And for my commentator partner, MentosMan 8, welcome and thank you for us. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday. We hope that you enjoy the remainder of week number 6 of this tournament. Have yourselves a lot of fun. MentosMan, you send us on out of here, please.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming out, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you later for all the other wonderful matches coming up that Rick named earlier.